All right. Good morning, everyone. We are live. It is Friday, and we have the Deacon here back again. So, Alex Deacon from Pittsburgh. He's a broker agent, owner of Deacon Hoover Real Estate, Mace Property Management. So, welcome, Deacon.
Thank you. Yeah,
Yeah, it's good to have you back, man. It was a good episode last time. I
it
think a
was.
lot of people are starting to look for other markets that are more affordable. So a lot of people are looking at the Pittsburgh real estate market. So maybe you quickly again update on what your kind of background is, real briefly, and what you're doing right now.
Absolutely. We'll keep this under. I'll try to keep this under a minute and a half. This is over 30 years. So here we go. I was an auto mechanic right out of high school. I did that for about 4 years. I bought my first real estate investment. I like, oh, this is pretty cool. I bought another one, and I bought another one. Then I'm like, okay, now I'm 27 or 28 at the time. I should get my real estate license. I got my license. I worked two jobs, and then eventually I was a real estate agent full time. And then in 2002, I started a management company with my wife. So currently we manage about 900 units all over the Pittsburgh area, and I have a healthy real estate portfolio myself. I'm constantly buying and selling, adding, trading up, and I'm still doing sales, but just not as much. So then my three income streams are sales through my brokerage, my management, our repair company, and finally my portfolio, which is obviously for long-term real estate wealth.
Aw- Awesome, and I see Steven tuning in this morning, and he calls he. I think that your name picked up, so he said good morning, and he said Yoda. So like I said, I tell everyone I call you kind of say Yoda to me, that kind of wise
I need
veteran.
another nickname. Thanks. I kind of look like him. If I had the bigger ears and a little more hair up here, just like.
Well, like I said, you are a wealth of knowledge, and that's why I like working with you. We are working on a deal also right now, so maybe in a few weeks we can update everyone on how that goes.
Mhm.
But this one is going to kind of focus mainly on maybe out-of-state investors and how I kind of clickbaited the title on how out-of-state investors are failing, and maybe what you see on the struggles when people reach out to you and they want to get started investing remotely. So, what kind of maybe red flags or kind of advice you can give people reaching out to you?
Okay. Wait. Say what? Let's prioritize. There was like four different questions in there, wasn't there?
Yeah, well, so like an out-of-state investor
Yeah.
that wants to, they're in an expensive market and they're
Mhm.
looking to invest now in Pittsburgh. So when they reach out to you, maybe what kind of troubles do you see them when they first like, they're ready to jump in, or do you
Okay.
see that? Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, hey, I'll give you. I do better when I use examples. So I literally just a few days ago had an investor reach out to me. He was from, I believe, New York, and he was looking for Section 8 properties here. And he's asked me my opinion on it. I said, I really don't like Section 8 because multiple reasons. Some people love Section 8. I don't, but we manage about 70 units that are Section 8. Um, but he wanted to make $500 per house. He wanted to buy single family homes. He wanted to make $500 per house net. That's after all expenses. And so initially I'm thinking there is no way, because if I could make $500 a house, I would just buy a house a week if I could find them. And it's not realistic. You can do it every once in a while, but it's just not realistic. So I initially had about a 10-minute conversation with him. I told him, I said, I don't think your expectations are realistic, but why don't we do this? Let's start with, do you want city Section 8 or county Section 8? He didn't understand the difference. Well, there's a difference. And what county, Beaver, Allegheny, that type of thing. I said, why don't we do this? You send me areas and houses that you like, and then I'll look at them. So he sent me four, like almost immediately later that day. So the next day I looked at each one of those, and I spent about 10 minutes. I picked them apart, just like what I saw. I said, in this area, you're paying too much. It's really a bad area. There's no way I can get you to 500 a month. You'd be lucky to make one or two. So I did that for each property. And after I did that, he basically decided not to look in Pittsburgh. So that's one thing you could do is reach out to someone who really knows the market, because your expectations may be here. And a lot of agents are just trying to sell you something. They're going to agree with whatever you want them to agree with. Okay. And then you're going to find yourself in a situation where I wasn't getting accurate information. So if you're thinking of buying in Pittsburgh and you want to make $500 a unit, now here's the backstory to that is he was putting 20% down. He was getting a 30-year mortgage, just so you know the parameters of his ROI. And even given that, it's not practical with management fees, repairs, unknowns. I mean, just today from you, Mark, and the past couple of days, you had one tenant who has a bird flying inside her house, and the other one has a dead carcass somewhere in the crawl space that smells. Does anybody budget for that? No.
Yeah.
So $500 a month per house on a 30-year mortgage with 20% down in Pittsburgh is probably not going to happen. So that 30-minute conversation dialogue via phone and email saved this guy countless hours of time, and saved me countless hours of my time too, because we'd have been wasting a lot of time, which I don't like to do.
Yeah, great point. So maybe what is one thing out-of-state investors never ask you, but absolutely should before buying in Pittsburgh? Is there anything that on top of your mind?
They never ask me, but they should. The one thing when I do get asked the question, it's not that it's not an important question, but it's not the first question you should ask is how much are your management fees? First of all, our management fees are, I've priced around. We are about right in the middle, like on a scale from 1 to 10, 10 being the highest, we're probably 7-ish. So just for that sake. But when someone asks me that, I'm already like, you're asking the wrong question, man. Like, how good are we at management? If my management fee is on the 1 scale, which is the lowest, does that mean you want to hire me? So that's one question you do want to ask, because you definitely want to know what the fees are, but that's not where you start. What's your vacancy rate? How many units do you manage? How many property managers you have per unit, which I get that question a lot. And that's a loaded question, because we have one property manager and she's a rock star. She manages 350 units, which is, you have any idea how difficult that is, scattered site housing all over the place, not just one location. That's extremely difficult. And then we have others that struggle to manage 100 units just because they're not good with their time or they have too much on their plate. So I would say don't always focus on what are you going to charge me, like as a real estate agent. Hey, we have a minimum commission as an agent. I'm saying if you talk to an agent, the agent says, hey, our minimum commission is $4,000. So if you buy a $50,000 house and the commission we're getting paid from the seller is $2,000, we're gonna want $2,000 from you. That seems kind of high to me, and it is if that agent's not bringing value to the table. If that agent doesn't know the market, if that agent's just taking orders, if that agent's just a yes man or a yes woman, yes, whatever you want, okay, sure, you want to offer full price, fine. So make sure you're getting value from the vendors you're using, whether they're property managers, repair people, agents. The service has to be good and there has to be value there. So maybe don't focus on price as much as value.
Yeah, that's a great point, right? Because usually people are trying to look for like the lowest property management percentage or fee, and instead of asking questions like you said, how many properties are they managing? What's their vacancy rate?
We're all human. I'm the first person that asks how much. That's the first thing I look at, but it shouldn't be. It should be one of the things you look at. I mean, that's just the way I am. I'm built the same way. So everybody's more alike than they are different.
Yeah, so you kind of touched on the management side, the property management side. So Jim, the grumpy contractor who's in California, who's is looking in the Pittsburgh market also, he says, how hard is it to place a tenant December through February?
It's more difficult. I can't say really how hard is it. It's going to take longer. So we really try to end all of our leases between the March 1st and let's say the end of September. We try to end them all there. Different various ways to do that. Most tenants will be agreeable to that. So for example, if you rent something December 1st, we'll make the lease for 15 months, and usually the tenants don't have an issue with it. If they do, and you have leases that end, or if they evict somebody and you have a vacancy in December, January, February, November, you just have to be cognizant of that. Like I'll drop my rents. If it's $1,000 rental and I got to get it rented for $800, I get it rented because I'm paying utility bills there. You have potential frozen pipes, vandalism, you name it. So I'll take a $2,400 hit, right, on paper, because it's really not a complete $2,400 hit. If I can get it rented December 1st versus February 1st for $1,000, that's December and January. That's $2,000 right there. And I've taken a $400 hit basically for that year. And if you factor in utilities and potential liability of somebody breaking in or frozen pipes, you're really ahead of the game. Then next year, you can renegotiate the lease, raise it $100. Chances are they're not going to move because they're going to see what else is out there, and they're going to realize that, oh my gosh, we're getting this property at $900. We really should be paying $1,000. So I'm a proponent of dropping the rents in bad times or bad markets to get a body in there, a good body, not just any body.
Yeah, absolutely. Say good morning to Fantasticator. Haven't seen you here before, so thanks for stopping by. We are talking about how out-of-state investors can fail in the Pittsburgh market and why you need like a rock star agent, property manager, and contractor on your team. But also, going back to the agent side, have you ever had to talk someone out of a deal that looked kind of great on paper, but might have been like a ticking time bomb?
All the time. I'm one of the few agents to do that because first of all, money doesn't drive me. And two, I don't need, at this point in my career, I don't need money. When I did need money, and we're all human, we might stretch the truth a little bit, because I got to pay the bills. I got food to put on the table. But just find an agent who's giving you good advice and is not money driven, because in the long run, and I like just long-term tenant clients that repeat clients. I just like that referral-based clients, which is my whole business is based off of that, versus once I use this client up, I'll just go on to the next, because there's 100 in line waiting to buy real estate here, and you can take advantage of a lot of them. So did that answer the question? I kind of went on a tangent there.
No, I think it was kind of a quick, like you said, you've talked many people out of deals that may have looked good on paper. And right. I think to your point, right? I think
just that guy the other day who I could have talked him into those 4 deals he sent me. I said, yeah, they're all great. Yeah.
Yeah. So, well, and and another point too is, like you said, an agent that might just be like a yes, yes person and agree with everything you say. And like you said, those deals that person may have sent you may have worked on paper for maybe the first year, but it didn't have like the vision of down the road of maintenance and upkeep. So it might have worked well for that first year, but it didn't see the future as far as what other things might be on the horizon for it. So
I think here's a good rule of thumb. If you just start looking in Pittsburgh, I guess any market, and the first 10 deals you look at, you like 5 of them, you're doing something wrong. You should probably have to look at, I'm not saying physically look at, but you probably have to look at least 100 properties online and dissect them, go to Street View, do your market research with your agent's help before you find one good one. So if you find something really quickly and you like 5 out of 10 properties that you've seen, you're doing something wrong. Be more selective.
I like that. Yeah. So Jim has another question. He says, so he's thinking about kind of doing like down to the studs, kind of BRRRR strategy stuff. But he said, would I be better starting a BRRRR in the winter, being rent ready by March or April?
I think that's a good idea. Yeah, timing is important. Sometimes you can get a little better deal in the winter. I mean, if you looked at if somebody was able to put all the demographic or the statistics together on how much properties sell for in the winter versus the summer or the good months here in Pittsburgh, you probably would see a trend that would show you can get a little better deal in the winter, just because you might have somebody who's been sitting on a property a while. They have taxes are coming up in the spring. They have heat bills now, and they don't want to see it vacant. So maybe you can find a little better deal in the winter. And then if you can time the rehab to be done at the peak season for flipping or for renting, that's always a bonus.
I already know Jim's probably going to ask this. I'll ask it for him. He's probably going to ask, how hard is it to get work done or contractors during the winter months?
It's probably a little easier in the winter here because business, winter in Pittsburgh impedes a lot of exterior work. So, like, I had a roofer that works for us almost exclusively now. I literally bought a couple properties that I know I wasn't going to make a whole lot of margin on just to keep him busy. So, and I probably got a reasonable price just because he can keep his crews busy. He can continue having income stream through the winter months until he has roofing and exterior work to do.
So Stephen, who is in Canada, who's looking at Pittsburgh, he's reached out to you. He's also reached out to Jeremy and Liam after some of our lives. But he says, is small multifamily too much to weather as a first deal for an out-of-state investor, in your opinion?
No, small multifamily is absolutely perfect. Yeah, four units and under, absolutely fine. I really prefer that because you have multiple units there. If you have one unit, if then it's vacant, that's 100% vacancy. If you have 3 units and one's vacant, that's only 33% vacancy. So I do like the multifamily strategy if you can find them.
Flavio, who's in Grandview, Washington, who keeps teasing us that you need a bulletproof vest to invest in Pittsburgh, but he wants to know, what do you, Alex, do you see jobs growing in Pittsburgh?
So Pittsburgh, the population, I just looked the other day because I think we had talked about it on the last one, and then I went and looked at it. So Allegheny County is where Pittsburgh is located. It's a small city, small county. The county has 1.3 million people, give or take. If you look at the population growth from 1970 to now, it's actually gone down about 50,000, according to Google. So I don't see population growth here. Therefore, I don't really see huge economic growth. There is some in pockets, but trying to forecast where that pocket will be is really a little bit of luck and a little bit of intuition. So no, I don't see any business. I don't see major economic growth here. It's always been steady. Appreciation here has been 3.5% for the past 50 years. So you will get a very safe, steady investment here, but you won't get the highs and lows of some areas that are exploding in population or maybe depopulation, I guess.
I also want to remind everyone, Alex does have a YouTube channel also too. So I put his channel in the chat. So go please check out his page and subscribe. And he's doing a lot of cool.
For that.
No, yeah. I mean, I know you haven't seen as much stuff from you recently, but you were getting really consistent at one point, and then
it does take. You're very good at it, man. It does take commitment and time to provide good content. But at the age I'm at with 2 grandsons, 5 and 7, and all the things that I do, it's hard to be committed to that. So I appreciate these because you do all the work. I just talk. So
it's funny you look at it that way, that I'm doing all the work, but you guys are the ones that are making it easier for me to make content, because I just bring you on and then now I can cut the reels up. So we're helping each other out.
Thank you.
Let's see, from the property management side, maybe maybe what are the most common communication breakdowns with an out-of-state landlord? Is there any type of experience
On the property management side?
Yeah.
I always let my clients know if because we're all human, and maybe my property manager is not doing a good job. I just lost a client because of that. Our repair department and our property manager was not communicating. It was taking way too long. I get involved 4 months later. I'm like, what the F is going on here? Why don't we have an estimate for this guy? And why are you telling me, that's to the repair guy and property manager, why aren't you telling me about you not getting an estimate? It's absolutely ridiculous. So as far as I'm concerned, if you use my company, make sure that if you don't feel like you're getting good service and you're not getting a good response time, you email me and I guarantee that will change.
Yeah, so for anyone out there, if you are looking for property management or thinking about Mace Property Management, so I always CC Alex on my messages, not to, have him always respond, but just so he knows what's going on with my properties and he can always kind of follow up if something's taking a little bit longer to maybe get taken care of. But
So,
yeah,
so not to pat myself on the back. So just as far as anybody you hire, property manager, agent, contractor, communication is super important. So like if you're not getting that, it's very frustrating. I know you guys all know it is, because everybody's dealt with, whether you're buying an appliance from Home Depot or trying to order a prescription from, a drugstore. It's just trying to talk to a human being or get a quick communication is almost a thing of the past. So if you can find somebody or a company that communicates really well and is very knowledgeable and provides good content, good information, and that's very valuable in today's the way things are as far as communicating with people.
yeah, I know. Unfortunately, Omar wasn't able to make it again. We'll get him on at one. Maybe he's avoiding you, Alex. Maybe every time he's supposed to be on with you, he hasn't been on. But
Omar's good with me, man. He's a good guy, a good contractor. He's probably really busy. I know he's a lot of
yeah,
projects going on.
yeah, definitely. So, but the one thing I know, one time I had Omar on, and he also talked about how, and I think at one point, so you guys do have the rent ready rehab side of your business, but
Right.
Omar was also mentioning that you kind of had a little more focus on maybe actually starting a bigger contracting business, but then you were like, man, I just have too much on my plate, and you're amazed at how Omar was kind of like able to kind of get that off the ground and kind of hit the ground running. So what, from I guess maybe the contractor standpoint, did you see was kind of difficult for you to add that to your plate?
It's not. I want to say it's not difficult, but it takes time and commitment, and I don't want to put the time or commitment into it because I'm 58 now, and I put enough time and commitment into my other businesses. So my primary focus for my repair company is just for our clients, just so we can keep it tight, keep the costs down, keep the profit high, and keep the quality high. Yeah, because I don't want to spread myself too thin, and then everything falls apart.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, Omar is a good guy. Yeah, he has no filter. So he definitely lets his feelings known when he's on. It was a fun time with him. Let's see. I don't see any questions here. So let's see what else we got. Hmm. Well, so this would have been more for Omar, but maybe you have some thoughts on this. But how do investors get burned by bad renovation estimates or shady contractors? Do you see
I
that happening a lot?
got the answer to that one. Okay. First of all, contractors get a bad rap because there's a lot of assholes out there. And now, oh, they want estimates, free estimates. Go out there and spend 10 hours assessing everything, being very detailed, and take pictures and give me a free estimate. Fuck that. I don't do that anymore. Okay. So what I'll do is I'll talk to a client and say, well, I want you to give me an estimate. Okay. Well, I'm not kidding. I'm going to spend 5 hours. I'm going to go out there, take pictures, take videos, come back to my office, take notes on everything, put a detailed scope of work together, and then schedule a conversation with you. And I'm going to do that for free. No, that's what people expect. And that's why if you ever tried to call a contractor and they don't show up, that's one reason. Two, because they don't know how to communicate, take pictures, or use technology in that way. And three, is because they're busy. So you can't get the busy ones to do free estimates. You get the ones that aren't busy, or the large companies that literally have a guy who just does estimates, and then you're going to pay because they have overhead. So pay your contractors a fair rate, pay them for estimates, pay them to be detailed. Now, on the flip side of that, there's a lot of asshole contractors, okay? Never give them a lot of money up front. Give them a little bit, maybe instead of half down and half at completion, give them 10% down. Send me a progress report in 3 days. I'll give you another 10%, then another 10%. If you have to do that, that's the best way to reduce the risk of, I don't know how many times I've heard, I gave my contractor $5,000 and he just disappeared. All the time happens. So limit your risk by giving the contractor as little down as possible and making sure you hold them accountable.
Yeah, so I think that's the other thing too, and even on the property management side, right? When you only have maybe one property, it's hard for you to, get a contractor to, like you're saying, maybe go out there, see something, or even a property manager to give you maybe a slight lower rate. And I think that's why I'm, trying to build this community of people that want to invest in Pittsburgh. And if we come together as a group, and now it's like, maybe 60, 70 properties all together working with you, then it's easier for us to be like, hey, can we get a quote on this estimate or whatnot, or this property? And we're all kind of as a group. So now it's like, okay, it's just like 70 properties or so, right? Or whatever that is with you, right?
Well, just literally just this morning, I sent my contractor out. He assessed I went out and looked at it. Then I sent him out there. He looked at it. I got maybe 2 hours into this. And I sent my client a scope of work and a ballpark, because this one's hard to estimate because he's got some mechanical issues over there. We don't have water. We don't have gas on. I need to check the mechanical. So I gave him a ballpark range. So this way, at least the client has a general idea. Oh, okay, I'm looking at between 5,000 and 10,000 for this job. So now they have a general scope or idea. Now, if he wants to be really detailed, then he's got to get me a couple grand here, and I got to get a plumber over there to get all the plumbing working so that I can test all the mechanicals. Then from that point, I can give him a true estimate on all the other work, which is mainly cosmetics at this point. But I don't know that until we fix all the mechanics and get that up and running.
Joel Farrell is a lender. He has also a channel. I think I put his YouTube channel in the chat earlier. He'll be jumping on a live stream with me on Wednesday next week. But he's asking, is there much ground up construction of apartments probably in the Pittsburgh area?
Oh, a ground up construction going on here, right?
Yeah.
Like new complexes and stuff. Surprisingly, it's probably not as much as growing areas. And like I pick Texas because it seems like Texas, from what I hear, is growing. So they probably have apartment complexes going up like crazy. But here, knowing what I just told you about the Allegheny County population actually going down 100,000 in 50 years, so it went from 1.4 million to 1.3 million. I don't even understand how they're building these apartment complexes, but they are going up and they're extremely expensive. I had a guy who's getting his license, a young kid, and he was sitting across from me here a few days ago. He said him and his girlfriend just rented a new place. It's out in Moon Township, which is 15 minutes from here. Brand new, built, 2-bedroom. They have the typical swimming pool. They have garages you can rent. And they have the workout area. It's a whole community. And it was $1,900. Now here, that's a lot of money for a 2-bedroom apartment. I'm like, $1,900. I have a 2-bedroom in Crafton, which is just a 4 unit, really nice 2-bedroom unit. Very nice. I mean, this is a nice unit. Maybe not as nice as what he's renting for $1,100 with a garage. So I don't know where these folks, why anybody would pay $1,900 when if you shop around, you can find something really nice for less. So the answer to that is yes, there are new ground up constructions going on here. I don't know how they make money. I've never done that. I guess volume and just having big pockets, but not as prevalent here because the population isn't exploding here.
Sorry, I skipped over Jim's question. He says, what research would you recommend while waiting for that winter time? My money will be ready August, September. Wait, what research?
Yeah, just keep looking, keep following what's on the market. Actually, I use the multi list, so it's easier for me to look at how many days it's been on the market. But I'm sure if you use Zillow, that Mark, you might know this better than I do. How can you use the online tools that you have as a consumer? How do you use it? Can you look at days on market if it fell through, if it came back on the market? Can you see that online?
Not so much. I mean, I only so things that really quickly catch my eye, I'll kind of tag it or save it or bookmark it, and then I have in my own my notes on my phone. I have these list of properties that I'm kind of monitoring, or even the zip codes, and then I'm following. And if if something goes under contract very quickly, then I can see that okay, this one went whatever, and like that one that I just sent you, it was like in
Mhm.
one day, right?
Mhm.
But it'll come up as a flag that, oh, this one's under contract now,
Okay.
and that's kind of how I'm keeping track of things. But I'm really only focusing too now on kind of like Ambridge and Aliquippo now. So
Okay.
really kind of narrowed my search. I still look overall in Pittsburgh, but I'm not as looking as detailed for a lot of things. But yeah, so that'll be my way of seeing how long things are sitting on the market. And then to another part to Jim's question, he's asking, and I don't think he means sharing it on the live. Maybe you can, maybe if you're able to send him an email or whatnot. But he's wondering, do you have a previous rehab project you'd be willing to share the rehab numbers on? He's looking to down to the stud properties. So if you have anything like that that you've done recently that you could share the numbers to him.
Yeah. If he sends me an email, I'm doing one right now too. So yes, I could absolutely just put something together that would be helpful. Yeah, for
Okay.
sure. And just to go back to how to focus your time to for that winter purchase. I think you hit on it, which is the more focused you are, the easier. If you're like, oh, I just want to buy in Western PA, it's going to be really difficult. So I think what the first thing you need to do is, okay, you want to buy in PA. Okay, this is your radius. Now where? Okay, here. Now what price range? Okay, here. What multifamily, single family? Here. What scope of work? Does it need gutted? Does it not? I'm not looking for gut jobs. I'm looking for just paint and carpet. Now you narrow it down to here. Then you narrow down like specific areas. You have to get it narrowed down to this way, and then start to focus on. And how do you get to that point? It's just going to take time. But once you narrow it down and you really get to know the market, when something comes on the market, you're ready to pounce because you know the market. Like I can see something. I'm just buying a 10 unit right now. Fingers crossed because it's an amazing deal. A wholesaler brought it to me, and I saw the value right away. An average person wouldn't know that, and it would take them too long. Like I was out there the next day, I looked at it. There was only one other investor there. I'm this close to getting it signed at probably 60% I'm paying of what this place is worth. So I'm not bragging. I'm just telling you that's what kind of advantage you'll have when you know the market. The better you know it, and the more educated you get in this market, the deals are going to be more prevalent because you're going to be able to see those where the average investor can't, and they can't react quickly enough. So you have to have your cash ready too. So when you see that deal, it's going to be like, yeah, I want it. Let's do it. I got 5,000 hand money. Worst thing can happen for me is I lose $5,000. Like let's say I get cold feet or I didn't see something, I missed something, then I'll lose $5,000. But I can afford to do that now at this point in my career. So focus on your market and get to know that market. It's going to take time. There's no easy way to do that. And Mark, you could probably be more helpful if somebody wants to know how to do that, because I don't know how to use the internet to do that. I use Google Streets and stuff like that, and I use the Allegheny County website for certain things, and I use the MLS. I don't use the rest of the internet, which is huge. So I just don't. I'm not a helpful resource there on how to do that.
Yeah, I'm pretty good at it, but I always joke around too, and I tell people that, and you're working with him also, and you guys actually just closed recently. But I always tease everyone that my systems is called Mikey Honda. So Michael is my systems because he's very. I call him the technician. So he's very good at running his numbers and breaking things down. So I do pretty well, but every time I want to quick recap, I say, "Hey, Mikey, check this one out," and I get some all these detailed information. So he's my ace in the hole, and you probably know that too because you guys just closed on something
That's
yesterday, I believe.
good. Yeah, you're building that. You have that team. You're building that team. You're networking with others. Yeah, don't know your strengths and know your weaknesses, man. I know all mine. I have plenty of weaknesses. Trust me, but I have
Looks like froze a
partner.
little bit. You're reconnecting, looks like, but so Jim would probably reach out. Looks like he's looking at the same areas that I also mentioned. And I think one thing he also might ask you is, because so I know he has a plan. He also wants to possibly, if he does go Pittsburgh, he has a vision of doing multiple burrs possibly. But he's also looking for like a property to even maybe put a storage unit or a garage on because he wants to fly out there because he's a contractor in California. So he's going to do some of the work on his own. So he's looking at something where he could build something to where he can leave his work truck and tools.
Yeah,
How hard is it to if he had to build like a structure like that or a garage? Like if it's outside Allegheny County, do you know like how difficult it would be, like the permitting or whatnot?
I don't think it would be difficult if you. Now it's just going to depend on how big of a structure you want. Like I've bought many properties and I've built garages on them to add value. These are just small garages, like a 20 by 20 and a 20 by 30 garage. If you're building something larger, then obviously finding the space for that. But what I would suggest is, finding a single family home or multifamily that has a garage or has room to build a garage, and now you add value to the property. You can rent it out in the future. For now, you can rent out maybe half of it and use the other half, or you can utilize all of it for yourself. So finding a property with space in order to do that, and then buy and hold that property. Maybe now you have an investment here and you have a garage space, and maybe even a place to live when you're here. If it's a 4 unit, you keep one unit kind of open.
Yeah, so even like the property we're working on right now that I'm trying to get to the finish line, I think you even mentioned that there's room to put a garage on
Yeah,
it, right?
there's a huge side lot you could add. Yeah, you say if before you purchase it, you want to, and that's really your intention. Check with the township. Make that due diligence part of your contract. That I want, I have 20 days to check with the township to see how difficult it's going to be to put a structure here and what limitations are there before you purchase it.
So Flavio, I know we got cut this one a little short today, but Flavio has a question. This is going back to maybe the agent side. He's asking, what is the estimated time to sell a property? So what are you seeing right now in Pittsburgh to list a property?
it like days on market,
Yeah.
it's pretty quick. Yeah, if you price it right, if you price it correctly. Like I have my own flip right now that I haven't sold in 3 months. That's because I've owned it for a long time. I over improved for it. That's stupid. See, I don't know everything. So, um, but if you price it right, it's gone in a week. Yeah, but pricing it right is the key. I would say the average days on market's probably, if you looked at the entire multi list just off the shooting from the hip, 30 days. It's not long.
Okay. Yeah, so like even the Liam was on the other day, and we had another out-of-state investor looking at Pittsburgh, and we had a kind of fun one where Liam had to try and convince this investor that Pittsburgh should be the market that he's looking at. So, but there was this one listing that the one I sent you within that day. By that time I sent it to you, it was already under
Right.
contract. So things, yeah, like you're saying, if they're priced right, they probably still are going under contract fairly quickly. And maybe last thing before we wrap things up though. So Liam and Jeremy, or was it Liam and Jeremy? I think they were on. They were also talking. Oh no, Jeremy was on. He was talking about like private money lending, hard money lending. Is that also resources that you're able to provide to
Mhm.
clients or people looking to invest?
Yes, I've actually done some private lending. I typically only lend to clients and people I know who know what they're doing. But I have limited funds. But no, I have multiple private lenders. Some of them are quite expensive, but they get the job done. So if there's enough meat on the bone and you can use that short-term money and use it to your advantage, then sure, I have resources for that.
All right. Well, if anyone is here and has a few more questions, we probably got a few more minutes before we got to wrap things up, but shoot them in the chat. If not, I mean, yeah, I mean, this is always fun. I'm always glad to get you on. I think we're doing something great in Pittsburgh. I see a lot of people looking in that area now in our community. They're seeing, so that, like I said, like the one that Liam was on the other day with that other investor in our community, the other investor was quite shocked at the kind of returns you could get on some of these properties. So to give more content, that person is in the Washington area, so it's about 700,000, median single family home, whatnot. So when he saw some of these small multis and the kind of returns you had, so I think Liam did a good job, maybe pushing the needle a little bit. So this person might be leaning towards Pittsburgh a little bit more. But yeah. Flavio, yeah, thank you guys. So Flavio is the one guy. If we can get him to get over the hump of wearing a bulletproof vest walking around Pittsburgh, then we got Flavio. So that's his.
Is that the one I scared last time when I told him about the dead body?
I think it may have been. Yes, I think.
Sorry, Flavio. You got to have skin, buddy.
Yeah, so but that can happen anywhere. Yeah. But yeah, Flavio is a good guy. So but he's in Grandview, Washington, where he's feel like he's kind of getting priced out of his market also. So
you hear that a lot. So.
All right. Well, if there is no more questions, like I know you have to run, you have another meeting to jump on. We'll get you back on. And let's see, it is Friday, so everyone have a good weekend. And I am going to the Millionaire Blueprint event in Hawaii. Michael Zuber's out here to speak, so me and Mikey are going to attend that real estate conference today and Saturday. So
nice.
It should be fun. I'll try to get some content of Zuber speaking, and everyone have a great weekend.